When the blitz is on, you need to protect your most valuable asset. That's why the NFL looks to Cisco Security, powered by AI, to protect their data from cyber attacks. When the game is on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
Expectations, and just told those guys, just like always, that we have to continue to get better. Tried to put some things into perspective. You have a team that's picked to win the Super Bowl, gets blown out the next week. Like right now, it's about who can get better the quickest, and that's just what we have to do. We have to get back to the fundamentals when we talk about tackling and running, and being able to move the ball, and also takeaway is definitely a huge part of it. But guys are ready to work. They're excited, and today it's all about NEP. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It has everything to do with self-scout and really just working on things that continue to show up on a game-after-game basis.
Do you feel like you guys are still searching for your identity as to what kind of team you are?
I think that, I don't want to jump to conclusions, because after we controlled the line of scrimmage throughout the preseason and also controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, the first two games, and then to sit here and overreact on the third game and controlling the line of scrimmage, I don't want to do that. I still think we have a tough physical football team, and that's my expectation, and that's also their expectation, is to go out there and establish your toughness. And then in the fourth quarter, hopefully you have a chance to win.
Jerod, you mentioned resetting expectations at team meeting today. One, why is that important to you? And B, what were the expectations that were reset?
Well, that's a good question. And maybe I misspoke in saying resetting expectations, but just reminding them of what we said all the way back in the spring on what type of team that we want to be. And, went in on a short week and didn't perform the way we wanted to, but it was more of a reminder. I probably should have said it that way, a reminder of what we said we were and how we have to play winning football.
Coach said that today's going to be all about NEP. Does that mean you guys won't be preparing for the 49ers in practice?
We'll sprinkle a little bit in there in the 49ers, but once again, it's about us, and it's a bonus day for us. The players are off tomorrow, and then it's a normal week. Well, normal-ish. We leave on Friday. But it's just about the things that continue to show up day after day, game after game.
What's the conversation like with the offensive line in the week of the game like that? You did say, control the line of scrimmage the first two games. Yeah. You talked a little bit today about how the pass protection is struggling. Yeah, it's a very upfront conversation, and I have the relationship, and so do the coaches have the relationship with those guys, where you can be very transparent and open. Like this isn't good enough. I show on one of my slides this morning was just a picture of a mirror, and this is our jobs as coaches, is to put the mirror in front of the player's face and remind them like what it really is. It's not about your mom or your brother or your cousins telling you it's not your fault. It's all of our fault, and once again, it starts with me.
You mentioned the importance of turnovers. I know Kyle Duggar mentioned in summer the emphasis on punching the ball on every play. Have you seen that same type of effort, and what can you do to start getting those turnovers?
Yeah, we've definitely seen that same effort. I would say as a player, no matter what level you're at, turnovers come in bunches. That's how it happens. You get one, and then all of a sudden, you're getting 3 here, 4 here, but they definitely come in bunches. And my reminder to those guys is just keep attacking the ball, and they'll come.
On the flip side of that, do you have a philosophy on the offensive side about how you handle fumbling?
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it. Look, it's no secret that Dre has fumbled the ball 3 times in 3 games, and now you become a target. And every single team, not just for Ramondre, but for everyone who handles the ball, like we're all going to be targets until we can show that we can protect the ball.
Do you have an idea if your team will be getting the city center back this week?
So he'll be out there today, hopefully moving around a little bit, and we'll see how he responds the next day.
You said pregame last week that Kendrick Bourne is making good progress.
Yeah, he's making great progress, and he's running fast. He looks good in his routes. We'll just, when he's ready to be out there, he'll be out there.
So if he's healthy, would you expect him to slide back in as the starting left guard, or could Michael Jordan keep that spot?
I'm not sure. We'll just have to once again, it's still early in the season, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Can you provide any update on the Jerod Mayo? When do you expect him to be out there, and also his kind of status points this week?
Low, it's interesting. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup all the way back in the summer. We'll just, when we say we'll work these guys out in individuals, like all that stuff is good, but you have to see how they present the next day. I wish I could sit here and give you a timeline, but I can't on that player. I do. He'll be out there. I'm not sure just how much he'll do.
Jerod, on the radio this morning, when you were talking about the pass pro issues, I think you said the biggest one right now is just seeing everything through like the same set of eyes. Is there a way that you can simplify protections for those guys, or is it really like they just need to figure it out?
Nah, it's more about reps, and I feel that the protections that we run. I mean, a lot of teams run the same protection, and what I showed them this morning, anytime you have a free runner through the A or the B gap, it gives the quarterback no chance, and we have to be inside out in all of our protections. And if the quarterback can see, an edge defender, being the free player, then he can most of the time make everyone else right. But that hasn't been the case here.
I know you had, an early B-gap pressure they got through, but I think most of the unblocked ones against the Jets were, nickel, safety, and then a couple edge rushers on those boots. I mean, that seems to be problematic as well. Is there one solution, a couple solutions for that?
Well, just the boot play in particular. Sometimes you have protected boots and sometimes you have unprotected boots. And what I will say is, like, you're anticipating a player to do one thing, and sometimes they change that up. And it goes back to, those tendency breakers, those guys, all the other teams, they self-scout as well. So we just have to get better as a whole. Our screen game has to get better. We have to continue to run the ball, and also, the intermediate passing. Got to do a better job with that.
I think people would be curious, like, the tone you try to set as a head coach after a game like that one. How would you describe it? Is it patience? Is it urgency? Like, how do you try to convey the message?
Yeah, I always tell the guys, win, lose, or draw, we have to be ready to change the page. And the NFL, especially early in the season, is so up and down, and no one really knows who's good, who's bad. Even when the schedule releases come out, just because you were good the past year doesn't mean you're going to be good this year. And the same thing, just because you were bad last year doesn't mean you're going to be bad this year. And so, for me, it's always been about just changing the page and moving on to the next one. And this is why, we always talk about, especially at the quarterback position, not getting too high or getting too low. Like, let's try to, handle winning and handle losses, the right way and learn from those mistakes.
When it comes to containing quarterbacks in the pocket, with defensively, do you feel like that has been an issue because of scheme-related stuff or more like discipline stuff on the
I think it's a combination of the two. And we as a whole, we just have to do a better job keeping the quarterback in the pocket. That was one of the last reminders, even with Rodgers, is let's keep this guy in the pocket. And, he just had free roam too many times, and we'll get that corrected.
What about the middle of the field defensively in the last couple of games here with the Jets?
Yeah, some of those were, just based on zone coverages. We're in man-to-man, we can get on them. But when you play quarterbacks or offenses that do a bunch of different things, like sometimes zone is the best way to go. And we have to do a better job getting to our depth and make them take the check down. And we just got to, go up and tackle those guys. But that's more of a, I guess it's a combination of the two.
It seems like line games have been a pretty big issue for the offensive line as well the past couple games. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you kind of measure expectations knowing that there's been so many guys in and out of the line?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point. Like going back to the beginning of training camp, well, let me just go back even further. When you have a good offensive line, like, it's not about the individual, it's about those guys being able to pass off those twist games and things like that, and going back to seeing the picture out of the same set of eyes. And we've had guys in and out of the lineup, and we just got to get some continuity there and go from there.
Defensively, I know you faced three really good quarterbacks. Their numbers, when you guys rush 5 or more, are all very, very good. Do you see any common themes there when you guys choose to bring pressure, like real pressure, that, this has been an issue for us when we want to do that?
I wouldn't say it in those words. I would say, as far as defense is concerned, which has been this way for a long time, we're a game plan defense that spins the dial. And sometimes, you can get those big negative plays, and there are other times where we just don't get home. And so just marrying up the rush and the coverage, I think that's the more important thing.
You've known a lot of the guys in the room for a long time now. I'm wondering how you've seen them. I know you haven't practiced yet today. How you've seen them just react to that game and now having a couple days off. How do they strike the balance, the players, between being pissed off and being optimistic and turning the page, as you mentioned? How do they do that?
Well, it was easy this time because they had 3 days off. It's mandatory by the league, and so you can kind of sulk and be sad about it maybe the next day, but after that, it's time to change the page. And I would say the guys came in today with good energy, and hopefully, that shows on the practice field.
How did you handle days like that as a player?
You go back and watch the film, and you just have a honest conversation with yourself, like how you played. And I know a lot of the guys, they did the exact same thing. And there was some good, there was more bad, obviously, in the Thursday game. And we have an opportunity coming up this week against a good football team.
I know that Christian Gonzalez has had some tough matchups so far. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, just a guy that continues to just keep fighting. He may not say a lot. He has all the skill sets to be one of the top players in the league at his position, and I think he still has room to grow, and he's going to be a very good player for us.
mentioned that we had 3 days off. In terms of setting the schedule for this year, how much is in your hands if you wanted the guys to come in for an extra day tomorrow? You know, what's out of your
We want to keep it as a normal work week. And so, like I said, those guys, even though I sit here and say those guys are off, they'll still get in their little groups and watch film on their own. And that's what you want from a team.
Things going to remain status quo with the quarterback position and how you operate based on what you told us on Friday?
Yeah, so right now, Jacoby's still our starting quarterback. And even after the game, I watched that film the whole way, back home, got in early in the morning and still felt the same way. We have to support him across the board, as a coaching staff, players. We have to support him and keep him clean and hopefully give him opportunities to look for the open receiver. No update there.
Coach, it seems like offensively you dial back some of the pure drop back passing game on early downs, but on third downs, obviously, you can't really avoid it. Is it realistic sometimes, knowing you have sometimes backups on the line, to say maybe we start this progression low to high just to get the ball out quicker? Or do you really always want to go high to low to force the defense to
you can absolutely protect the quarterback and protect the offensive line through scheme. I think it's a good question. What I will say is 90s, the short game always will protect those guys up front. But I also think there's a combination. You can't just sit there and try to spread the field horizontally without spreading it vertically. And then, going back to the run game, I think it's all built off that. Thanks, guys.